Hey team, Richard Tubb here with a Bonusode episode of Tubb Talk, the podcast for managed service providers. Now I'm here in Dublin at Kaseya EMEA 2024, and for this episode we thought we'd go straight to the main man in Europe, Dermot McCann, who is the General Manager for Kaseya EMEA. Dermot, good to see you. How you doing?
Oh, great, Richard. Fantastic to see you. It's a surprise to see you in some ways.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, let's dive straight into it. So congratulations on the new role. You were the GM for APAC across in Australia and that region. You're now the General Manager for Kaseya EMEA. So tell me about what's been happening. I'm guessing the weather in Dublin's a bit of a change to Sydney as well.
Yeah, that's right. Well, as I said, I've went to Australia for a holiday, and I've been in and around the MSP community in some shape or fashion for the last 25 years in APAC, both, running my own MSP, being part of other MSPs, being in the tech space, and of course running Kaseya on a couple of occasions down there. I didn't move back to Europe for the weather. It may surprise you.
Clearly.
Yeah, I'm back because we've done, we as in the team at Kaseya in Australia and New Zealand and around the region have done a really good job of re-engaging with our MSP community. So I left Kaseya first time in 2015, before Fred came back. And coming back to Kaseya in early 2021, realized it was a bit fractured and it needed needed to really re-engage with our partners, authentically. And we've been doing that extensively through a lot of events, through a lot of in-person conversations, leading with empathy, I think. Recognizing the role that we play, that Kaseya plays in our partners. Success are the risk that we can have as a vendor. Recognizing that there's a lot of work to do. The acquisition of Datto allowed us to really get on the same page with that partner community. We embraced each other, literally embraced each other. The best way to manage an acquisition or an integration is you get all the teams together, and of course in Australia, you get them together, you buy them a beer, and she'll be right, mate, as they say.
Sounds good plan.
Yeah. So as I was the senior vice president in APAC and had a great opportunity to build a very strong leadership team, combined of the team within Kaseya, but also a lot of the team in Datto, and then we scaled that. We're about 150 people strong in Sydney. 25 years later, there was an opportunity to think about Kaseya's future in Europe, and more broadly across EMEA. Thinking about the challenges that US companies face in a market like EMEA and the challenges that MSPs face with vendors across the region. And, as Kaseya has matured its offerings in terms of, reducing the amount of vendors that our partners need to work with and, addressing the vendor fatigue issue that we've been really focused on fixing, a lot of it now is how do we get in front of our partners and collaborate better with our partners. For me, that's really exciting. The fact that I've lived in England, I'm Irish, I've lived in France, I've lived in Germany, I've spent a lot of time around Europe. I understand the uniqueness of each of those regions and each of those markets. And that's where I think I can help our partners and also the teams here, frankly, understanding how to, we'd like to say, get shit done.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty good at that. So I'm excited to be coming back. There's a lot of work to do, as there always is and there always should be, because of the health of this market. MSPs are and continue to be operating in one of the fastest growing segments of any industry. If you think of an MSP's growing at an average 15 to 20%. Can you imagine a barber shop or a pub here in Dublin that was growing at that kind of rate? So, and as a result, Kaseya has an obligation, frankly, to really improve how we engage with those partners. Things like the Partner First Pledge that we launched here, that to me is gold for our partners,
Yeah.
The MSPs here, we have serviced them well, but it's in a service way. We need to partner with them better. And Kaseya has always had a very customer-centric approach. Datto's been very partner-centric. And certainly the acquisition of Datto has helped us really develop that partner-centric mentality. And certainly something that I've been driving in our businesses around the world and in the company. And launching the Partner First Pledge, which means that we're looking at things like consequential loss protection for our partners. Reminding everybody that everything in Kaseya is on a 1 or a 3 year contract, and we've been reintroducing month-to-month contracts. The type of feedback that we get, doing things like price lock guarantees, so that there's predictability. We've launched our a game-changing solution, but people naturally assume, oh, Kaseya is going to start, gouging pricing. That's not the case.
Well, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So a few weeks ago, you announced Kaseya 365. So as I understand it, combined endpoint management, security, and backup solution for MSPs. So how do you go about describing the benefits of that? Because it's priced really, really keenly and sent waves through the industry.
Yeah, it's good. It's the benefits really reflect the needs of our partners' customers. So small, medium businesses are transforming at a rate faster than large enterprises did 25 years ago when I was last in Europe. A digital transformation of, a fitness center or a medical center, if a dental surgery goes offline, they can't operate. So their dependence on technology and their dependence, therefore, on MSPs is exponentially increased. They need to be always available and they need to be always secure. The challenge is those businesses seldom appreciate the cost that it takes an MSP to deliver those services, yet they'll hold those MSPs accountable for ensuring that they are. Always. So what we've identified through the platform strategy that we've created is an opportunity for Kaseya to build a Kaseya 365 platform, which has the RMM, antivirus, ransomware detection, the EDR, a very comprehensive MDR solution with a managed SOC, and combine that with an endpoint backup for a single subscription. The benefit of this is it removes the choice for a small, medium business to say, well, I don't want to pay for extra security. It allows the MSP to provide a solution that is inherently secure. And we discussed this in the context of MSPs wanting to deliver an EDR solution, but maybe 60% or 30% of their customers are going to pay for an EDR solution. Now an MSP can put a Kaseya 365 subscription out there and they can deploy EDR as a trial. They can deploy it for free. They can come up with creative propositions to put that in place. The best parallel, and it's akin to how Microsoft approached the launch of Microsoft Office. If you subscribe to Microsoft Office, you pay your flat monthly subscription. You don't care whether you as an MSP don't care whether your customers are using Microsoft Excel or not. They're paying their subscription, but they're never going to go and choose another vendor in that place because of the commercial benefits and the practical benefits of having a platform that is fully integrated and that allows you to automate the delivery of workflow automation between each of those functions, which is also something that's lacking in the industry. There's some great, as an example, some great EDR solutions out there, but they don't work well with RMMs, or they don't integrate well with service desks. And the challenge there is, as we're leveraging more and more AI solutions in these models, you've got to be able to automate because you've got to be able to deliver these services at scale and efficiently. So we've estimated with Kaseya 365 that on average, MSPs are spending, and you'll have to forgive me, I'm going to give you a dollar quote and not a euro.
Go for it, we can do the translation.
You'll do the translation and your listeners can do the math themselves. But on average, about $22 per endpoint when they combine the cost of an AV solution, an EDR solution, and all of the component backup solution, endpoint backup specifically. And if we're doing that now for $5, that is a net profit increase per endpoint of 12 or 13 pounds, we'll say, per endpoint. That is a significant benefit to an MSP because it frees up their capability to deliver those services, which basically removes a significant hurdle to allowing them to grow their business. And our business is all dependent on our MSP's scale and success. And that's why I think about, coming back to that partner first pledge, that if we can help our partners with shared risk on the commercial side of it, then we can continue to invest, the $14 billion that we've invested in this platform so far to drive profitability outcomes for them. So it ensures that they'll protect their end users. We have invested and will continue to invest in this platform more than any other vendor in this space combined, because the total addressable market for your listeners, the MSPs, that small, medium business market is exploding. 60% of all new jobs are created in that space. And the innovation, it's fastest growing sector, and it's more GDP. So that's kind of why we've launched Kaseya 365. It's the first of several exciting announcements that we've got coming over the next 6 to 12 months in this space. It has been very well received. I mean, we're here in Dublin today, and you can see the hype about it.
Yeah. One of the accusations or one of the grumbles I hear from MSPs when they speak to vendors, and I'm not just picking on Kaseya here, all vendors, they go, yeah, Richard, but the vendors, they don't understand us as MSPs. They've never done it. You alluded to it earlier. You have done it. So prior to rejoining Kaseya, you ran not one, but two tech companies, MSPs. Give us a little bit of background there. Tell us what you did there.
Yeah, look, I've had a good crack at a lot of different things. Would be the way I would describe it. The last two companies before Kaseya, we created patented technologies to go after a specific fintech environment. What I noticed and what I've learned through my career in and around the IT services space is that there's one consistent piece, and it's trust. And people buy from people they like and people they trust.
Yeah.
And regardless of there's someone's tomorrow's going to invent another wicked mousetrap. That's great, but that's not important. Your point is really valid, and that's why I'm excited about being back in Europe. Is to develop trust with our partners. And you develop trust with leadership, and you drive that consistency. The leader sets the culture and the tone for the organization. And one of the areas where we really want to focus is having those meaningful relationships, those meaningful trusted relationships with our partners. And I've learned that through the 25 years in Australia, and I don't believe it's any different in any part of the world. Human nature is what it is. People buy from people they like and trust.
Absolutely.
So a lot of the initiatives that we've been working on here, and you've seen it, 1,800 people here. We've done nearly 200 executive meetings over the last 2 days. And listening to our partners, taking their feedback and acting on it, and instigating things like we've said, the Partner First Pledge. When you look at the detail behind that pledge, that shows that we're listening, that shows that we're walking the walk and talking the talk. Where things we would have done at a leadership level might have been as a common practice or make good sense. Like if you have a consequential loss in your business, of course Kaseya is going to want to work with you. Of course we don't want to see your business being at risk. But as we've scaled, that message possibly hasn't filtered down through every single account manager, because the trusted relationship starts with the account management engagement. So now we've created policies to ensure that every partner in our community feels special and feels that they have a trusted relationship with Kaseya. Now, we don't always get it right. We screw up all the time. Hopefully we do more things right than wrong. And certainly the last 3 years, as we've developed and we've matured and launched, consolidated billing platforms and new products and the Kaseya 365 launch, the initiatives are designed to develop and build trust with our partners.
Yeah. You've been on both sides of the fence, as an MSP. Well, in fact, now that I think about it, vendor, MSP, then back to the vendor field. Is there anything that surprised you about moving back into the vendor field, that many assumptions that you had, like when you were the other side of the fence as an MSP, that becoming a vendor again now, you're like, ooh.
One of the things I love about this role and about that question is the MSP community is such a unique community. Right? These are incredibly passionate business owners, people who've, from all walks of life, from all sizes, from a one-man band to, 150 plus, service providers. And they're incredibly passionate. And being on this side of the fence now, understanding that you have to adapt, you have to improvise and adapt. Their livelihood depends on the decisions that you make as a vendor. And when you make a mistake, it impacts them significantly. So being able to kind of respect that and acknowledge that and fix it and work on solutions like Kaseya 365 that are purely designed to drive profitability for our partners, because it is tough. It is hard. Small, medium businesses are spending exponentially more on IT and security management solutions. As a percentage of their revenue, that's actually increasing. Even if their revenues are decreasing, the data that we have shows that they're spending more on IT and security, which is putting more pressure and emphasis on the MSP. However, they don't want to pay the MSP more, even though they have to spend more. So we have to come up with innovative solutions to allow them to fuel their growth. There's a really interesting statistic during the week on the comparison between the other service industries, financial services, legal services, professional services industries, and the types of profit margins that those industries are commanding for their services. We'd argue that IT service providers are as critical as those other industries, yet their margins are significantly less. So our focus now, as we kind of shift gears with Kaseya and with continued investment, I'm not here, as we'd like to say, I don't know, I won't swear on your podcast, but we have a great expression in Australia. We're not here to beep spiders, right? Even though
you've already mentioned getting shit done, so okay, I think that barrier's already been broached, my friend. Go for it.
But the benefit here, what it allows us to do, is to really work with those partnerships. Something like a profit fuel exercise, which we've run a load of these this week. We look at our partners P&L. We look at the amount they're spending on technology by every one of their product lines, and we can map that out to anything in the portfolio of Kaseya solutions. We map the time of their contracts, we map the solutions, and then we spit out a number. And we did one of these at this event last year. A very large 150-person plus MSP saved 40% off their OpEx. Now, you can't tell me there's a single service provider, even a one-man band or 150-person, who wouldn't love to save 40% off their OpEx.
Yeah, of course.
Because that cost saving, of course, our technology has to be comparable. We would benchmark ourselves with any of the others, and that's fine. It has to be comparable, but it's a commercial decision to drive profit fuel for that partner to drive growth. So now they can afford to look at things like our True Methods framework, to grow their business, or they can look at some of our BCDR or our networking gear, or all of these other solutions that are all designed to drive profitability for that partner. That's an exciting thing for us to be focusing on.
Yeah. Can I ask about personal resilience? So you've got a really high profile role. You're very well known, very well liked within the industry. And, Kaseya have had their challenges like every vendor has. For instance, Reddit, I don't go on Reddit. It's like the Wild West. So for every 10 people who say they love Richard Tubb, there's going to be somebody who tells you every single way they don't like my work. How do you feel when you come across, some of the bad publicity or people saying bad things about you? Because it's clear you're so passionate about it. How do you deal with that from a personal perspective when somebody says your baby's ugly?
Yeah, look, it's a great question, and I'll say I don't read that shit. And most of the partners that we work with and the partnerships that we have, the people who we work with, don't read that either. That's not, if somebody has a personal I used to say this as a kid growing up to the girls. If you have a problem with what I do, tell me. If you think I'm good, tell everybody else, right? The MSP community is a vocal community, and it should be, right? And I think it's important. The underlying issue, unfortunately, is there are bad apples in this industry as well. We had a vendor who I won't name who decided to do some guerrilla marketing, not sponsor this event and host an event of their own outside. I mean, I take pride in that. I spoke to them. That's great. Fantastic. I feel for the other vendors who are trying to get ahead in that environment where somebody takes it upon themselves to disrupt. It didn't disrupt us. So I feel for your comment on the perception of Kaseya. If you've had a really negative experience, give us an opportunity to fix it. And that's the opportunity that we want. We mess up. Who doesn't? Of course we do. We make mistakes, but it's what you do when you fix it. From a personal resilience perspective, there might be people writing stuff about me on Reddit. I really don't care. I'm here to do better. As I'll give you the example, my mother, so I'm from Galway in the west of Ireland. She used to say the biggest room in the world is a room for improvement. And that's how I think about that's how I think about this role. I think about our company. Yeah, we screw up. We are doing way more things right than we are doing wrong, and that's a focus, and that's from the top of the company. We recognize this, and I've seen this through the last 3 years with the company. I've seen us battle cybersecurity incidents. I've seen us address that in the right way. It comes down to what I said before: people buy from people they like and trust, right? And it's about building trusted relationships. It's hard. But you have to be resilient. Because what am I going to do? I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to give up on this because I do feel passionately about it. And I think there are 5,500 people at Kaseya who all believe that they are doing the right thing and want to do the right thing. We don't deliberately have a strategy to make mistakes and to end up on Reddit. We are doing things to improve the approach of this company. And that's what I feel passionately about. And yeah, we will, people don't write the good stuff. That's fine. That's fine. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Well, thank you for sharing. I was hoping it wasn't just me that it avoided Reddit, and now I know that's not the case. Dermot avoids Reddit as well. I'm down with that. So I know you've got other meetings to shoot off to. What parting message would you give to the MSP audience listening, not just Kaseya partners, but every MSP, on where you feel they should be focusing their attention over the next 12 months, let's say?
Yeah, it's a great question. There's a lot of regulatory change happening in Europe. Obviously, cybersecurity is a big part of it. One of the reasons, as I said, we've launched the Kaseya 365 platform is to ensure that cyber is not an optional extra in this industry. The evidence we're seeing is that cyber attacks are increasing, and they're increasing in the SMB sectors. And the way cyber organizations are extracting ransomwares and fines they've dropped it because they realize that things they'll pay the fine effectively. So that challenge continues, but it means how do you make every customer cyber resilient? We launched this week our cyber insurance fast track, which is the ability to offer your customers a significantly reduced cyber insurance premium if they have, a certain number of our platforms in place. And that it gives a level of comfort to the insurer, but mostly to the end user, that they're going to be resilient. So we'll continue to see businesses transform, small, medium businesses wanting to move data online, wanting to move infrastructure online in a secure way. The macroeconomic factors are not insignificant here as they are anywhere in the world. What we have noticed, the MSP community is incredibly resilient. During COVID, majority of our partners really thrived during COVID, as they had to, unless you were, supporting a retail function. If you had a diverse business, it was tough, but it was a lot tougher for those industries than it was for MSPs. So we do see a lot of consolidation as well. Interestingly, we ran some surveys on the M&A side. A lot of MSPs, the smaller MSPs, are starting to scale. So there's more partnerships happening. Possibly less large enterprise mergers and acquisitions, but certainly a lot more smaller partnerships where people are starting to combine resources. Things like our platform strategy helps people do that. I just had a meeting with a partner who's done in Scotland, who's done a good acquisition, a couple of good acquisitions. They're leveraging their platform. So put Kaseya 365, they're instantly reducing their operating costs by 30 or 40%. The ROI on the M&A is significant. They've got an operating environment now. They can go after their next one. So scale will become important, as will efficiency. So leveraging a fully integrated platform that allows you to integrate your workflow, pushing a layer of automation on top of that. I won't use the AI word in this conversation, but effectively robotic process automation will drive efficiency. So that's how our partners, and we're going to do more with less. And you can only do that when you have a vendor who owns all the kit. Because for AI to work, or automation to work, you have to own all of the infrastructure. We can't hold back the release of a piece of technology because ConnectWise haven't released their API integration, and nor would they hold it back for us, and nor should they. It doesn't make any business sense. So when we've acquired data, we've acquired IT glue, our networking gear, even the switches, the routers that we have, integrating those technologies into our platform allows us then to have an integrated process which we can leverage machine learning algorithms into, RPA into, and increasingly AI data models, because of the sheer volume of use cases that we've been able to adapt into the platforms. That's going to be exciting. So I'd say, in summary, cybersecurity, resiliency, more mergers and acquisitions, and then an increased use of AI and workflow integrations.
I love it. Well, thank you for taking the time to catch up. I've had a lot of fun here. I feel like I could talk to you for a long time to come here, but I know you've got other things going on. So thanks for carving the time out to speak with us. Now, final question. If any of the MSPs listening want to continue the conversation with you, where can they find you online? And we know it's not Reddit. So.
No. Please do. So I'm first name dot surname at kaseya.com. That's a good way to start. Email, LinkedIn. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I am a member of some of these, some of these tribal communities that we have out there, without naming any.
That are around tech.
Hit me up on LinkedIn is probably easiest. Come to an event. I'm going to be based out of London. The reason I'm back in Europe is because, as I said, it's a big continent. We have a lot of work to do, particularly in the UK. I think there's a great opportunity for us to develop more of those meaningful, trusting relationships. I'm leaning into this, so I want to hear from as many partners as we can. That's why we've done 200 meetings this week, and that's why we have the 1,800 people at this event. We want to have that, and we're leading with a very authentic but very powerful message as well. So that's how I want people to connect with me.
Excellent. Well, Australia's loss is our gain, Dermot. So it's good to have you back here. Although I imagine if I speak to you in a couple of months about the weather, you'll be like,
I make the point. I am not here for the weather. I assure you. I'll miss it, but I'm excited to be here. Thank you for your time.
This has been fun. Thanks, mate.
Hey folks, Richard here. Thanks for listening today. I know you've got a ton of options for who you listen to nowadays, so I really appreciate your support. Do you have any feedback on this episode? Ideas for future guests? Tweet me at Tubblog using the hashtag TubbTalk. I respond to every tweet and really appreciate your feedback.